So today I am going to be doing a story time video for you guys. And this is going to be a definitely more serious story time video. Definitely more serious than my last few. This is going to be a story time video of, okay. He wasn't a boyfriend to me, but we were dating, and he called himself my boyfriend. Like, I felt pressured from him to be like, oh, you're my boyfriend, but I really wouldn't consider him a boyfriend. We lasted like 3 weeks because he got psycho on me, and yeah, so I wouldn't consider him a boyfriend, but that's what I guess he was in the meantime. So, but yeah, this is a story about him and how he turned into a crazy stalker, abusive, like, ex, I guess. So, yeah, I'm going to start off with a story, and I'm going to give you a little bit of background information. So, I actually met him online on a dating app, and I thought, like, I've been on apps and dating apps before, and I've met really nice, sweet guys, normal guys, like, you know, guys who, like, are so sweet, like, mama's boys, like, so nice. And I met him, and as soon as I met him, he actually, like, I met him, I vividly remember this. I met him in my car, like, I was sitting in my car, I met him, he was like, oh, here's my number, and I usually don't, like, text them right away, like, but for some reason, I was just, like, okay, like, he's super cute, and, like, that's another thing I want to say in this video, like, you never know, like, he was really good looking, really attractive, like, you never know with people, you can't tell how people emotionally are, and, like, up in here, just by how they look. So I just want to throw that out there. He was really cute, and I think that's honestly what probably let me, like, okay, I'll call him, I'll text him, whatever. So we were texting, and I was in my car waiting for my next class, and he was like, let me call you. And I was like, okay, this is kind of weird, like, I usually don't call the guys as soon as I meet them, like, that's kind of strange. But he called me, and he seemed like really nice, and just you know, normal, super nice, like, very talkative, and I was like, okay, like, this could so work. Yeah, so I met him, and he basically was like, and this should have been a red flag. I think anyone that does this, I think, should be a red flag, depending on the situation, because he was, like, I guess you can't say this particular situation was a red flag in this instant, but someone who is moving really fast and who, you know, says I love you on the second date, like, that's a red flag. Someone who moves really, really fast. So this kid, after we were on the phone, he, like, you know, was continuously complimenting me, like, saying how nice I was, saying how pretty I was, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, oh, well, let's go on a date tonight. And I was like, tonight? Like, we just met, like, an hour ago. And he's like, yeah, I really, really like you. I think this is gonna work out. Like, I really like to, like, get to know people more face to face than rather, like, texting. And at first I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's more old school, you know, maybe he's just, like, an old soul and doesn't really like this, like, dating app and, like, texting first thing. And so I was kind of, like, taken aback, because I was like, that's so weird, like, our generation doesn't usually do that. But I was like, okay, like, cool, like, all right. And I did pick the place. I picked a local, like, diner who was open pretty late at night. Like, I think they're open 24 hours. So we went, and it was kind of late. It was like 8-ish. And that's another thing that I recommend if you're going to meet guys online. Meet them in a public place. Meet them, you know, by your house if you can, because the guy actually ended up living 45 minutes away from me. So he drove out to see me, which was good, and that was, like, a good sign too, because guys who were like, oh no, you drive out to see me, it's like, that's not okay, because the girl is more vulnerable, at least I feel like, in a situation, especially when you meet guys online. You should definitely feel comfortable where you're going to be, so you should try to meet closer to where you live. So we met and we talked, and our first date went really, really good. He was really sweet. Like, he didn't even try to kiss me on the first date. Like, it was really, really good. I'm gonna give it to him. Like, he did good. Good acting, I guess you could say. But again, with these people, you can't tell. So we like started dating a little bit, and the weird thing for me that first kind of was like, oh, this is weird. If I wouldn't answer like his text messages or his calls, he would text me over and over and over, or call and call and call. And I never had anyone like blow up my phone like he did, and still to this day I've never had anyone blow it up like he has. And it was just very strange to me. I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, and I was thinking to myself in the back of my head, I was like, this is like a sign of abuse. Like, because you see like those Lifetime movies, you know, they're trying to make it more known to like people that, you know, this does happen. And honestly, it does. It can happen to anyone. It doesn't have to be, you know, like so dramatic. Like, it can happen to anyone. So yeah, he blew up my phone. And, you know, and then another thing that kind of like was really strange, when we would like go out and like when we would hang out, he would kind of like always want to check my phone, because he told me that, like, you know, oh, well, I've had girls cheat on me, I've had, you know, girls like do me wrong, I've had them, you know, be shady and sketchy. And so he would tell me things like that, and then he would proceed to talk about like his exes or his ex-flings or girls that he slept with and stuff like that, and he would rip these girls to shreds. He would say things that I would never say to my enemies. Like, he had, like, when he would go off on these, like, tangents, he, like, I felt like he had no soul, because he would just go and go and go and go and go and just say things to where I got to the point, like, the new girl in the new relationship got to the point where it was like, you shouldn't say that about anyone. Like, I got to the point where I was defending them, and that you shouldn't do, because I feel like it says a lot about a person who talks badly about, like, that badly, like, that, like, to the point where you have to defend the girl who's not there to defend herself. Like, that's weird, and that's, like, a red flag. Like, you're clearly not over the situation. Like, you're holding on to a lot of anger, a lot of, like, resentment. Like, you need to, like, let it go. Like, let bygones be bygones. And he would just go off. And it was kind of scary to me, because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, like, oh my God, if this doesn't turn out, I'm gonna be his next, like, person that the next girl's gonna hear about. Like, I'm gonna be, you know, the fat, ugly, like, C word, like, I'm gonna be the no life, no loser, like, or no life loser, like, girl. And so, like I was saying, like, I felt like I was gonna be the next girl that he was gonna shred to pieces. And I can honestly still feel like he is doing that to me, because it ended clearly really badly. And he does have a current girlfriend, and honestly, good luck, because he was the most crazy, I think, person I think I've ever met in my life. Yeah, so he is in a relationship currently. Hopefully that girl's, like, okay and she doesn't need, like, medical attention, but yeah. So, and I mean, they look happy. They've been together for a while, so I don't know. So maybe sometimes it just takes the right person to tame the beast, so whatever. And this guy, let me describe like some physical features about him. We're gonna call him for the video, we're gonna call him Chris. Chris is not his name, but we're gonna call him Chris. And good looking guy, tall. He was like probably 6 foot, like pretty good. He was big, like he was like strong. And yeah, so he definitely like had some, sorry, I'm like itchy. Yeah, so he definitely, like, you know, was bigger, and I am 5'4", like, you know, I am a little bit overweight, but that doesn't mean that I'm like super strong and like can like kick his butt. Like, there's no way. So yeah, when he would go on these like tangents, he kind of got like really like weird. And the only way I can describe it is, you know, when a dog kind of is about to attack someone, their eyes change. that was him. When he got mad or when he got like blow up or would go on rants, his eyes changed. Like, you could see it. And that's what scared me, because in some instances, like, he would do that, and it got scary because there was this one time that I actually ended up going over his house. He picked me up in my house and we drove to his house, and we like went to dinner and stuff before we went to his house. And I didn't have a ride home because clearly he drove me. His parents were not home at the time, and we went downstairs into his basement. And his basement was really big, like really spacious. It's like a whole like downstairs, and like that's another thing about this guy. Like, he came from money, so like you know, he had like kind of a lot going for him. So I kind of was like, oh, you know, this is good. Like, I feel like that's kind of some reasons why I kept, you know, trying to make it work. And he wanted to see my phone, and I'd never been in that situation where like someone you were talking to like wanted to see your phone. And I was like okay, because I was like kind of scared almost at this point, because again, I kind of saw it in his eyes, like, because we were talking about his exes, and then we brought up my ex, and he was like, so you still talk to your ex? And I was like, and of course me over here, I'm like, no. And so he was like, oh really, prove it, let me see your phone. And I like thought, I was like, okay, well, I haven't texted him, like I haven't like done anything, so cool, like whatever, like you can see my phone, like I have nothing to hide. So I texted him, like I like gave it to him, but I forgot that my ex is actually the guy that I'm currently with now, who's completely normal and like treats me like a queen, like I'm like up here. And I forgot that I did Snapchat him a while ago, like over something like stupid. Like, I don't even know what it was. It was stupid. And the guy like goes through my messages, goes through my Snapchats, like while I'm sitting there, and I just like don't know what to do because I've never been in this situation. I'm just like deer in the headlights. I'm like what's gonna happen to me? You know, he's gonna skin me alive, mount me on his wall, and like, because they lived in like the middle of nowhere in this big house, and I'm like, I'm gonna die here. That's it. I'm gonna die. That's it. Yep, I'm done. I'm done. Off this earth. So yeah, he's going through my phone, and he goes into my Snapchat. He goes into this area of Snapchat that I didn't even know existed. Like, you could see like who you talk to or whatever. And he was like, who's this? And at the time, my boyfriend's like screen name was kind of specific to who he was, and I was like, oh shit. Like, I was like, oh my god. So I was like, that's my ex, but you know, we haven't talked in a while. Like, I just Snapchatted him back after he Snapchatted me. Like, there's nothing going on, blah blah blah. I tried to like tell him, like, I was like, there's nothing going on, like, you can relax. And that's the point where his eyes changed. He was so mad. He was like, you need to delete your Snapchat, you need to delete your OkCupid, which is the dating site that I had. You need to delete everything. I don't want you having guys in your phone. I don't want you having you know, like, contact with him ever again. Like, I want you to change your Snapchat name so he doesn't know it. I want you to change your Instagram name so he doesn't know it. Like, all of this stuff. And I had to actually, like, I felt threatened enough to actually delete my Snapchat and change my Snapchat name in front of him because he was that angry. And the only reason I did that was because before, like, the reason I felt threatened was when he was like going through my phone and like got angry. At first I tried to like reach and like grab my phone off of him almost, and I've never in my life ever, like, my dad is the nicest dad. He's so sweet. Like, my boyfriend treats me like a queen. I've dated nice guys that just haven't worked out. I've never had a guy do this to me. He literally took his hand and shoved me out of the way. Like, I legit like went backwards, and that scared the shit out of me. I'm sorry for the language, but it really did. And was at his house, no ride home. Like, my dad didn't know where I was currently, which is terrible. You shouldn't do that. Don't do that to your parents. And yeah, like, it was a scary situation. His parents weren't home and all this stuff, and it was just scary. So I felt threatened enough to do what he said, just to, like, kind of get out of the situation. And so, you know, everything, like, after that, and after he shoved me, I was just like, oh my god, like, he's gonna kill me. So I changed everything in front of him. I'm, like, bawling my eyes out. Seriously, I'm, like, crying in front of him. This guy, no sympathy. Like, no sympathy at all. Like, seriously, still yelling at me while I'm crying and changing my Snapchat. I'm like, like, seriously bawling my eyes out. I'm like, why would you shove me? And he would, like, say, like, oh, well, you know, you were getting in my face, and I was definitely not getting in his face because I'm 5'4", he's 6 foot. Like, there's no way I was getting in his face, not even if I stand on my tippy toes, there's no way. So, yeah, crazy. So I did everything he said. He drove me back home later on, and, you know, it was calm, and, you know, I tried to, like, talk to him, and honestly, I said bullshit. Half the stuff I said was to keep myself alive. Like, I, like, you know, tried to agree with him on some things that I honestly didn't agree with. Like, that night was scary. Like, that scared the shit out of me. So I, you know, tried to play along. Like, I was, like, trying to act like everything was okay in my mind, even though in my mind I was, like, freaking out. Like, I want out of here. I don't want to see him ever again. Like, blah, 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 blah. And, like, so after this instant, he drives me home, drops me off, like, you know, whatever, and I call my friend, I tell them what happened. They're like, Jordan, you need to get out of this relationship. You need to, you know, not talk to this guy again. He sounds dangerous. Like, no guy should ever put your hands on you, no matter what it is, what it's about. Like, no guy in his right mind should do that to a woman, and especially someone who, like, is clearly bigger, clearly stronger, like, clearly when the situation was not needed for him to put his hands on me. So, yeah, and you shouldn't let it get to that, because honestly, if a guy is constantly calling you, constantly texting you, constantly, like, wanting to know where you're at, who you're with, what you're doing, like, that's weird in a sense. Like, that is obsessive. And I mean, when I say constant, I had hundreds of messages from this guy, and that's when I wasn't answering him. So you really need to just, like, evaluate the situation. Always talk to guys before you try to, like, get with them. So I just want to say something honestly, and I'm going to be, like, completely honest with you guys in this situation, and this is why, one of the reasons why I still kind of, like, hung on to it. And I want to be completely honest with you guys, because I think this video is serious and it deserves, you know, most honesty. So before that situation happened, I was not in the right, like, mind at all, because my mom recently did pass away. She passed away maybe like 6 months prior to this, so I was definitely not in the right, like, mindset at all. I broke up with my serious boyfriend of, like, a year. Like, I was, like, distraught. I was definitely not having anything. Like, things at home weren't, like, too good, and you know, I was just feeling really down. So I decided it would be a good idea, and it wasn't a good idea, especially because, you know, I was getting red flags in the beginning, and this is before he, like, pushed me in his basement. I decided on, like, the third, fourth date or something to sleep with him. So that was a huge mistake. That's something that I've never done before. That is something that I will never ever do because that's something really precious, and that's something that is, you know, you should save for a guy that loves you, treats you right, you know, your husband, if you feel like that, your fiance, if you want to wait, like, you know, you should just, that's something really sacred, and it's something that only few men should have in your life, and, you know, it's just really sacred. And don't get me wrong, like, before that, like, I wasn't a virgin, but it's definitely something that you should save, and that's one of the reasons I think I definitely was, like, saying in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, we should make this work, because I've done that with him, you know what I mean? And that's just because that's the kind of person I am. I try not to do that with, like, I'm not one to do that, like, ever. So, yeah, that was, like, the first time I've ever done that, and I won't do it again, but it was just weird, because I was, like, thinking in the back of my head, I was like, we need to make this work, like, you can't do this, like, I can't be that girl who, like, I don't know, like, I had too much pride, and I let that situation get in the way of the current situation, which was the current situation was him being abusive emotionally, and it was getting to the point where it was getting physically. So you need to overlook the small details, like, you know, you sleeping with him, or like, you know, stuff like that, like, because that doesn't matter on the grand scheme of things, because no matter what, he's gonna treat you like that. If it's like this in the beginning, it's only gonna get worse. And that's something that is so true, and it plays out over and over and over again. Because I did have my, because I do have some in my life experience. I've had two, like, experiences with men who beat the crap out of their wives in front of their children. Like, I know. Some were in my family, some were close family friends, so I know. And yeah. So, continuing the story. So a couple days goes by, and I'm honestly, you know, I'm still talking to him, but I'm trying to, like, distance myself. And at that point, he's telling me that he loves me. He's telling me, you know, I love you, like, I'm so sorry that I pushed you, I love you, like, we're gonna make this work, you know, we're gonna be so happy, you can move in with me. Like, he was planning out the whole entire thing. And prior, like, in between me sleeping with him and then him pushing me, I actually found out that he lied about his age. He told me that he was 19 going on 20, which I was 20, and he told me later on that he was actually just turned 18, and that was a huge shock for me, because I, one, usually don't like younger guys. I just don't, because I feel like they come with drama. Just because honestly guys my age are not mature enough, so how could a guy younger than me be mature enough? But again, I guess that depends on the person, so you never know, but that's just how I view it. So I really don't go for younger guys. So he was almost 2 years younger than me, and again, I stuck around because I slept with him. So that was a big deal. So the 2-year difference was still not enough for me to be like, okay, bye. Like, so, yeah. Yeah. So there's that. But, okay, so another scenario. This is how it ended. And it ended pretty bad because the guy, ended up thinking that he caught me cheating, which it wasn't like that at all, but that's like what was in his head because he's crazy. Yeah, crazy. Can't I say that enough? He's psycho. This is what happened. I worked at the mall currently, like when we were dating. I don't work at it anymore, but I worked at the mall. I worked at Charlotte Russe, and so I wanted to see a guy friend who at the time had a girlfriend, and I was seeing the other guy, so, you know, there was no, like, nothing, like nothing. So nothing happened. Like, I only talked to him for like an hour, like not even, like maybe 45 minutes, and we were just friends. So he worked at a store like a couple across the way, and I worked at Charlotte Russe, and we got off around the same time. So he walked out the back with me, like from my exit, because he went to the other store, so I drove him to his car, and we got in his car, and we just like talked and stuff, and you know, I asked him about his girlfriend, you know, whatever, like he asked me about mine, and like we were just talking, and you know, after a while, because I haven't seen this guy in a long time, you know, time passes, and I wasn't paying attention to my phone. The next day, I actually found out that he called my work. And asked where I was. And my friend who worked with me at the time, she was like, Jordan, this guy is telling me he is your boyfriend, and that he told me he was your boyfriend. He told me, you know, that he was worried about you because you weren't answering, and he wanted to know what time you got off. So I told him you got off at 6. So I did get off at 6, but I didn't talk to Chris until like 7. So the next day, he seems like cool. Like, we didn't really talk, and he wasn't texting me back and stuff. So I was like, okay, like this is kind of strange. Like, maybe he has something going on, because usually it's like him trying to contact me and not me contacting him. So yeah, he was chill. And then all of a sudden, I'm driving home from work, and he calls me, and after like us like not communicating, freaking out. I mean, this guy freaked out so much. Like, so much. He was like, where were you yesterday? Who were you with? I know you were cheating on me. Like, I know you're a cheater. I know you're a whore. I know you're sleeping around. I know you're doing all this stuff, like accusing me. Like, I mean, he would not let me say one word. I was cut out of the conversation. He was just, again, shredding me to pieces like he did with his exes. And I was like, like, I didn't even know what to say because I couldn't get a word in. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, yesterday you didn't call me back until 7, and you got off at 6 because I called your work, and I wanted to be sure and make sure you were okay and all this stuff. And I was like, you called my work? Like, Chris, that's weird. And then he got super mad. He was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna look up the security tapes at the mall. I'm gonna find out where you really were. Who were you with? Who were you talking to? And it was weird because I didn't tell him that I talked to the guy friend. So I was like, okay, this is like seriously weird. Like, this is weird. And he was just freaking out. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're gonna look up the security tapes and find out what I was doing? And he was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. And at the point, I was kind of really scared because I didn't tell him that I like stayed after to talk to the guy, and like he like almost knew like that like I like did something else before I talked to him, and like that was weird to me. And I guess if you look at it like, you know, if the person does get off, like, what are they doing for the other hour? But seriously, do you really think I have enough time to like go cheat on him? Like, especially with a guy that has a girlfriend who I've like known for years. Like, seriously? Anyways, yeah. So at this point, I was like kind of scared on the phone, and I was like, so you can actually like look up on camera like where I was? And he was like, yeah, I can do that. And at this point, I did believe him because he showed me things on his computer, like hacking things. Like, he was really into technology, really into like computers, and he could hack like different sites like Facebook, like different like things, like make Facebook change like everything about it. Like, it was just kind of crazy, like the things that he had set up. Like, he had multiple monitors. Like, he was very like CSI, like he could do shit. So I was like, oh my god, like, he's actually gonna look it up, find out I'm lying, he's gonna kill me, all this stuff. And so I just came true. Like, I came clean. I was like, yeah, I was talking to my guy friend, blah blah blah, and this guy, I could he went from like maybe 50 to 100 in like the span of a second. Because and his 50 was already calling me the C word, so you can imagine what his 100 was. He was like, I knew it, I knew you were cheating. And then he did something that completely, like, after this, I was done. I was done. This is one thing not anyone can do or say to me that I'm gonna take, because if we were in person, I would have probably hit him. And I mean across the face. And I don't even care if he would have killed me, because he deserved it. And oh yeah, I would have freaked out. I would have went like gorilla ape on him. He brought my mom into it. And if you guys already know, I think I already said, yeah, my mom passed away. So, and it was recent. So he was like, said something along the lines of, what do you think your mom would think about you cheating on me? What do you think your mom would think about you being a whore? Like, all this stuff. And I was like, you can go yourself. And I hung up. So at this point, I was like, this conversation, because I just got home from work like the next day, this conversation happened in the garage of my car, and I was sitting in my car, and this is when it happened, and my dad was home. So I'm bawling my ass out, because the mom thing, like, you can call me the C word, you can call me anything, but you drag my mom into it, it's done. I'm in tears. Like, yeah. So I walk into the house, I'm bawling my eyes out. My dad like freaks out. He's like, what's wrong? What happened? Are you okay? And I told him what Chris said, and his scary, oh dear god, my dad, his face got so red. He was like, give me that kid's address. Like, he wanted his phone number, he wanted his address. He was so mad. He was like, I'm gonna go down there, I'm gonna beat the shit out of him. Like, he was so mad. And this kid was 18, so I mean, it's not like he would have, like, fair game. But like, my dad was so mad. And I just told him, I was like, Dad, it's not worth it. Like, I'm done seeing him. I'm done talking to him. Like, I'm not going to ever talk to him again. He lives 45 minutes away. It's not going to be an issue. And honestly, I didn't feel like that. In my head, I was thinking, like, oh my God, he's going to kill me. He knows where I live, like, all this stuff. And I don't know, because at that point, I didn't feel comfortable opening up to my dad about how I actually felt versus because he was so mad at that very moment. So yeah, I calmed my dad down, and my dad was like, okay, I'm just glad you know you're physically okay. And I was like, yeah, me too, but you know, I just need to move on because this guy is clearly psycho, and no one should ever talk to another human being like that. So a couple days go by, you know, he's, again, constantly calling, constantly texting, like, I legit blocked his ass, and, you know, then he's constantly, you know, looking me up on different, like, Snapchat, Instagram, you name it, Facebook, like, everything, YouTube, like, and that's what I mean, he probably knows my YouTube, so that's really freaking, like, probably get a hater comment from him, but anyways, so, yeah. Looks me up on that, tries to like get in touch with me. I'm ignoring everything. I'm just kind of freaked out at that point because, you know, him like going through that much effort to contact me was a little much. So yeah, I realized, and this is the thing that pissed me off, I realized that I left my North Face jacket at his house, and it was my fuzzy one. And those run about $100, which is not cheap in my eyes. In my eyes, a broke-ass college student, $100 is a lot, especially for a jacket. And it was my hot pink fuzzy one that I got for Christmas from my dad. So it meant a lot because it was the first Christmas without my mom, and my dad picked it out. So it meant a lot. And I left it at his house, and I tried to contact him and be civil and be like, listen, like, you know, this isn't gonna work, but I really want to get my jacket back. And he was all sweet and nice when he was trying to contact me and I wasn't answering him. But when I contacted him needing something at his house or from him, he again went crazy on me and continued to say that, you know, I'm worthless, I'm not gonna amount to anything, I've changed, I'm a different person, all this stuff. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, like, you've known me for 3 weeks. Crazy. 3 weeks is like nothing. So he was being psycho on me, and he said, again, things that I wouldn't say to my worst enemy, and, you know, I didn't let the things that he said to me get to me because honestly, words from a crazy person mean nothing. So yeah. But at the end of his big spiel, long message about all the hateful things that he said to me, I was just like, you know what? You can keep the jacket. You're not worth it. And I blocked him and never heard from him again. Don't care. Don't want to know. Like, has a girlfriend now. Like, whatever. Like, I just don't. I can't. I literally can't. And it's weird because his mom was so, like, normal and friendly. Like, his dad didn't really say anything to me. Like, he was kind of, like, there. But, like, didn't even say hi, like, the first time I saw him, which was weird. But I don't know. Maybe things aren't good at his house, and that's why he, like, is crazy or something. I don't know. Like, I've been trying to, like, since I've been thinking about this video, I've been trying to come up with, like, reasons why he's like this, because everything in his life is pretty good. Like, his mom is nice, like, he has a lot going for him, like, with school, and, like, he's in a sport that he's, like, almost professional at. His family has money, but, like, again, that doesn't matter. Like, there's something wrong either inside of him or, like, in his life to make him be like this. And it's just kind of sad because it's like you have so much going for you and you're just acting like this. Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. But, again, everyone has their own struggles, everyone has their own problems, and some people just deal with it differently than others. And, oh, another thing that I wanted to talk about before I, like, end this story time is that when he was talking about his exes, he actually, told me, and this should have been, like, another red flag, that he had restraining orders on some of his exes, and some of his exes, like, grouped together and, like, tried to, like, bring other of his girlfriends, like, down and, like, tried to, like, you know, stalk him basically, like would show up in places that he was in, and so he got restraining orders against them. And I was like, okay, that's really weird, like restraining orders, like getting legal things into like teenager relationships, like that's kind of weird. Like I've never heard anything like that. And later on I found out that the restraining order is actually against him. So makes sense, right? So yeah, definitely can't tell by the way people look. Yeah, just be wary of who you talk to and how people talk to you, because honestly in the beginning, like, there was lots of red flags, lots of like things that shouldn't have happened, that I shouldn't have like let go and kind of like move on from, because they were big deals. So I definitely think that, you know, you learn from experience, but I'm so glad that this experience only turned out for him, like, you know, just pushing me instead of like hitting me like hard. I'm glad that's all that happened. And, you know, he was kind of creepy though, because he called my work a couple times, like more than just that one time. He called a couple times to make sure I actually got off when I got off. And that's just really crazy and really, really scary to deal with, especially when, you know, it's first like couple weeks into the relationship. Like, that's kind of crazy. So yeah, be wary about who you talk to, be wary about who, you know, you let into your life and bring into your house and stuff. So yes, definitely be wary. Hopefully that you guys liked this storytime video. It was a little bit more serious than my previous ones, but I wanted to make this just because a lot of girls, or guys, I mean, girls can be abusive too, so guys could be in this situation as well. Like, don't let anyone talk to you like that. If you wouldn't say it to, like, you know, your mom, your parents, like your grandma, if you wouldn't say that to them, what is your business? Like, what does your spouse have business saying that to you? Like, if it's stuff that you wouldn't say to your worst enemy, then like that's clearly really messed up, and words you can't take back, so they're serious. And emotional abuse is just as harmful as physical, even though, like, you know, physical is really bad, like emotional is just as bad. So be wary. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys liked this video, and comment, rate, and subscribe. Leave me a request if you guys want any other storytime videos. I'm thinking about doing the worst, the most awkward date I think I've ever been on. So it's another kind of like date thing, and it has Chris involved in it, so I think that would be kind of funny to tell. Looking back on it, it's pretty funny, but at the time it was so awkward. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and yeah, comment, rate, and subscribe, and I love each and every one of you. Bye everyone.